Hi everyone, this is Arslan with Elite Residential Drafting and Design Limited. Um, have you ever wondered or wanted to create very simple railings in Autodesk Revit and just never got to it, or was getting too complicated, or just seemed like it was a daunting task and you never took it on? Um, well, this video is for you guys, specifically for residential railing design. Um, if you just need some quick visualizations for your client, this type of railing works really well. Um, yeah, this is something I actually struggled with a lot when I first started using Autodesk Revit. There's all these out-of-the-box railings, but they don't look good for residential design. And typically, the housing projects that I work on, they're open to below, or they're gonna have some type of railings that are kind of on top of a wall or something instead of treads or stringers. So I needed to kind of make this myself. I couldn't find anything online, and I figured why not make a quick tutorial on this to teach other people that might be running into the same scenario as me. But ultimately, yeah, pretty simple, pretty easy to do. This video by no means is gonna dive deep into railings in Autodesk Revit. I'm basically going to show you how to make something very similar to what I've made here. This is just a quick visualization that I made after I made it. Yeah, like I'll try to explain as much as I can about how railings work in Revit, and maybe I'll do a future video doing a deep dive of just railings in general, handrails, supports for those handrails, and how to even maybe create something like this, but instead of it being balusters, maybe we have glass panel inserts, right? But that's going to be down the line. So yeah, without further ado, I'll see you in Revit. All right, we're in Revit. Let's get started. I'm going to start off by just using the Imperial Multidiscipline template that comes out of the box with Revit so everybody can follow along. Let's hopefully it loads quick here. Not sure why it's taking that long. All right, perfect. So here we are. And as you can see, so I'm just going to open up a 3D view as well. And let's start off by just creating some generic walls. And I'm just going to make something very quickly, and maybe I'll just make it like 10 feet or something. My railing's not going to be that long. And then let's go ahead and create some stairs. So you can use any stairs. Here's a 7-inch max riser, 11-inch tread. You can edit this to kind of to your code or whatever you need. The only change I'm going to make to this is the riser height. So I'll change it to 7 3/4 inches. And the stringers, I'm just going to switch it to open instead of it being closed, and everything else I'm just going to leave as is. And I'm just going to quickly create something so I don't lose it. And the next thing that you probably want to take a look at is probably just your elevations. We'll quickly go in here and make sure this is at 10 feet or something reasonable. And we'll just, in 3D, you can just select both of these and just say, okay, level 2. Perfect. All right. Let's come in here with our stairs, and I will go extreme support left. Let's go with something like this. And here we are. Failed to generate automatic railing. It's probably because of something stupid I did. But shouldn't. Okay, there we go. So something like this, let's say. Obviously, I'm just drawing something up really quickly here, but you want to make sure in the railing you don't actually select anything. Just hit none and hit OK, because we're going to be putting in railings later on. Okay. So here is what we got, right? Now we can, I'm just going to bring this down somewhat here, and I don't want to waste too much time on the video itself of me editing these walls and whatnot, and trying to get them exactly the way they might look like. So I'm going to pause here, do that, and I'm going to come right back. All right, I'm back. And basically what I did was I just edited the profile of these walls to kind of match the stairs. Okay. Now let's go back into our floor plan. And I'll do the same thing, just make sure the graphics something similar. Yeah, so next we're going to go into railing. And the easiest one that I have kind of realized this works really well with is just a handrail rectangular. Feel free to use some other ones if you want to play around with them, modify them, whatever you want to do. But make sure you pick the host as the top of the wall when you place them. And let's go ahead and place this railing. So by default, this is what you get, and maybe this is enough, right? Maybe you're happy with this, but if you want to modify it similar to what I was showing earlier, there are some quick ways you can do. So very quickly, let's go and take a look at what the railing structure looks like for a typical railing. Okay, so at the very top, we have our railing height, which is really set by the top rail down here. So if your top rail is at 4 feet, then your railing height will be at 4 feet. 3 feet works for me, so I'm going to leave it at 3 feet. Next step is the rail structure, which is just your non-continuous rail structure. And if you actually hover over them, they do a really good job of explaining what they are, right? They're built-in parameters, and you're modifying all the horizontal members within that railing system. So you can add multiple rails, like the ones that they're showing in this diagram, right? So actually, we will be using this to insert our bottom rail, right? Because we want to put a bottom rail. So I'm just gonna quickly put a bottom rail, and I want it actually 2-inch offset. And I'll explain why. We want it 2-inch off the ground because I want it from the host 2 inches up, and I'm gonna actually be using a 4x2 as my profile, which you'll notice we don't actually have any. So I'm just gonna use a 2-inch by 2-inch for now, and just for the sake of it, I'm gonna apply cherry material to it, and you can kind of see it, right? So this is what it actually looks like right now. So it's coming along. I'm going to do the same thing. Yeah, so now this is not the right size. So what you want to do is, if you type in rail into your project browser, you can see all the different profiles you have for your rectangle. And so we use a 2-inch by 2-inch right now, but there's a 2-inch by 3-inch as well. So I'm actually just going to duplicate one of these and call it 4-inch by 2-inch. And double click on it once you've made it, and the name is already, the type is already set. You just want to mess around with the parameters. So I want a 4-inch wide by 2-inch high profile, and you'll get a preview of what that looks like. Great. Now that it's made, we're going to go back into our railing, go back to that dialog, and just switch out that profile to a 4x2. Okay, and that'll get us that thicker looking bottom that we wanted. Now there are other things that are wrong with this railing. As you can see, the balusters are going into our bottom rail, which we don't actually want. So let's keep going. Next up is our baluster placement. So in here we have our main pattern and we have our posts. Okay, so within our main pattern right now we have regular balusters that are 3/4 inch that are using this profile baluster square 3/4 inch, right? And that's fine. I'm going to switch them out to use the baluster around 3/4 inch, and if you want something even different, you can go ahead and make that baluster family and use that, right? Maybe we can cover this in a future video, but for now, let's go with baluster around 3/4 inch. And as you can see right now, it's connecting to the host. The host is a wall right now. I don't want it to connect to the wall. I want it to connect to the bottom rail. So I'm going to select the bottom rail, and I don't want any offset. I actually want it right on top of the bottom rail. And I don't want it going to any of the other stuff. I want it going straight to my top rail. So these balusters are going to run from the top rail to the bottom rail. Okay. Distance from previous is just the spacing. So for justification, I'm actually just going to go spread pattern to fit. I usually keep it at that. But distance from previous, this could be your code requirement. Maybe minimum you have is 4 inch, but you're allowed 5 inch. So maybe you go 5 inch. sorry, I spoke. That was completely wrong. Maybe your minimum is 5 inch, right? You have to go 5 inch. But whatever, leave 4 inch in this scenario. But you can easily, whatever. I'll change to 5 inches to show you that's the spacing between the balusters now. So that's it. So if I actually apply this and I go back, that would have already fixed our baluster problem going into our host. And you can see that it's already starting to come along, right? So the next step is, well, what about our posts, right? And let's say I'm using a rail 4x2, right? Let's say I actually want to use a baluster that's a 4x4, right? A nice square. Well, I don't have that profile in here, but I do have a baluster square 2 inch. So let's just switch them out to baluster square 2 inches, and then we'll go in and duplicate and make a family that is actually 4x4 and use that instead. Okay. And the host for these posts are the base for these posts will be our host, so the top of the wall essentially, and you can make that the bottom rail as well. The top rail doesn't make sense, right? It would have to be your bottom rail, and you can offset that from your host. So maybe you want to move them up or down. That's where this offset is for. And top rail element is our top rail element. So that's how far up we're going to go for the post. And top offset, say something unique. Maybe you want them to kind of come up 2 inches or something. I will actually show you what that would look like, right? Let's say we want them 2 inches to come up. For space, I'm actually going to show you guys that you can look here, right? For the space for right now, let's just leave everything at 0, and we'll come back to this once we apply the 4-inch by 4-inch profile, and I'll show you. So that's where that 2-inch comes in. So if you have a very nice post family you're using and you want, maybe it has like a little ball up here that needs to come out, you can give it that offset. So maybe we'll do 3 inches because maybe that would look nice. Okay. We'll come back and visit this space, and it'll make more sense in a little bit here. But what we really want to do right now is go back and switch out these posts to represent the real post that we'd be using. So baluster square, you can see this is a 2-inch. I'm actually going to duplicate this to be a 4-inch, and I'm going to double click and just make sure my width is 4-inch. I'll do the math. And while we're here, we can also apply the material to the post to be the same as our rails. Now let's go back in here, and we will go back into our post, and then now we can switch them back to 4 inches now. Okay, perfect. Let's apply that, and that's what it looks like. So you'll see that we have a bit of a problem here, them being a bit offset, and this is where the space makes all the difference. If you do 2 inches minus 2 inches, you'll see it makes all the difference, right? So the spacing has to do with the connection of the top, the bottom rail and top rail to our post. So since this is a 4x4, I'm basically saying I'm moving half of it in the positive and half of it in the negative direction just to make sure everything is aligned. And you can see this top rail thing does kind of mess up with that, but we'll fix that in a little bit. So that part is done. And while I'm here, we also want to change the baluster material, right? And you saw that, we actually use the baluster 3/4 inch profile. So if you go in here, you can actually set the material of that. So we're going to use aluminum, and you can see that gets updated. So some of these items you can change the material in the dialog boxes. Some of them, no, you'll actually have to go to the family and change the material out. Rail connections, we'll do trim, extend rails to me, that's fine. We're going to use a top rail, right? And we're actually not going to use the 2x2 here. We're going to duplicate this, and I want to use the 4-inch by 2-inch that we had. So we'll just go in here and we'll pick that one. And again, this one also is allowing us to assign the material right here. So we'll do that. And there's more in this, right? There's this hand clearance, we're saying 2 inches, so that's fine. But you can see there's a lot more in this dialog, like extension styles, or terminations, and transitions and default joins, right? We have options to fillet or miter. But let's leave it at our default settings here, and let's apply this. So that's basically what it looks like. So say we don't actually want the rail to go through post here, right? Well, we can fix that. We will basically go in here and we'll actually go and select our, sorry, I lost my thought there for a little bit, but yeah, we'll need to go to the baluster placement and we'll just take these back to 0 and you can see what happens there, right? So depending on what you're after, this might work, this might not. Again, if you didn't want any top offset, if we were just going for the exact same style that I showed you earlier, we can take these back to 0, right? And then that's where it would make sense to keep that 2-inch minus 2-inch, because it would actually look nice and flush. So let's do that for now, just so that you can get the same look that I'm going for. That's basically it, guys. Like that's in a nutshell, that's the rail, right? And right now we have it hosted on the element, but if you were to just place this railing just on the ground, it would just look exactly like that. So it works really well. Now, something to be careful about actually is if we were to edit this path, and let's say where we decided we wanted to keep this thing going, right? Well, you're going to run into an issue because you've actually connected this to this wall, not this wall. So, and if you were to pick this host now, well, that one works, but then this one doesn't, right? So something to keep in mind, that you'll have to probably draw these separate. So let's say we do this one like that, looks really nice. And then we come up here and really pick this wall as the host, and then we just do that here. Okay, and this is what we get. Now you're going to run into this scenario, obviously, because you have an end post, right? So one of these railings you might have to duplicate and make sure you take out the end post, and that'll work really great. Okay? And I will show you that right now. So let's just take one of these all the way to the end, and this doesn't look good, right? So let's modify this one. And I'm just going to duplicate this and just say no end post, just so that I know. And all you have to do is go into the baluster placement and keep the starter post, keep the corner post, just go to the end post and hit none and apply, and you'll see it'll take out that end post now. So now this one looks like that, right? And how do you fix that railing connection? Is simple. You basically click on the path and you want to make sure that because this rail is going all the way through, you just go to the edge of it and voila, there's your railing. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and stay tuned for more tutorials, but this was my very first Autodesk Revit tutorial. I'll be making a lot more. I'll probably be doing a beginner level course type of tutorials where I kind of would maybe cover how to do a whole house, but I'll obviously do it in small little videos, one topic at a time. So stay tuned for that. All right, thank you everyone.